The next area we're going to discuss is called your financial affidavit. This is probably the most important document that you're going to be filing during this process. Your financial affidavit is a sworn affidavit under oath as to your financial status, not only your income, but also all the assets and liabilities. Typically what you'll do is go through and do an initial draft of this document. You'll list your salary, you will list all of your expenses, whether they're personal in nature, household expenses, expenses associated with the minor children, expenses associated with insurance, expenses associated with miscellaneous items. And then what I want you to do is complete this and then total your expenses. Then you will have another section dealing with liabilities. And what I mean by this, if there's a credit card payment that you make each and every month, you have to list that. If there's a particular creditor or a vendor or a car payment or something along those lines, you would want to list that too as far as a monthly liability. Unfortunately, the way these are drafted, it just has monthly payments to creditors and it doesn't give you a lot of guidance. But what you want to do is list each credit card or creditor and the monthly amount. When you complete that section, you will go now to, we call it the total monthly expenses, and it will either be a surplus or a deficit. So if you have your income listed, less your total expenses, you'll have either a surplus or deficit. And this is important because if you do have a surplus and your spouse is asking for alimony and or child support, then you have the ability to pay as they are requesting possibly. Also, if it's a situation where you're running a deficit and you are the spouse asking for alimony or child support, that shows what your monthly unmet need is. So the financial affidavits determine exactly what your ability to pay is, as well as your needs each and every month. After you complete that analysis, you will go into the asset and liability section. Sometimes they call it a balance sheet. And again, just like on the equitable distribution worksheet or the ED worksheet, you list all the assets, their value, whether they're marital or non-marital, and then you list all the liabilities, that value, and whether it's marital or non-marital. At the end, it will have a section dealing with the total net worth of the estate. And what that means is basically all the assets less all the liabilities, and then you determine a dollar value as far as the net worth of the estate. The very last section of your financial affidavit is called a contingent asset and liability section. And what this means is if you are expecting some type of asset in the future, whether it's inheritance, whether it's a pending personal injury claim, it's a work in progress, you're going to redeem some type of stock or something along those lines, you would list that as a contingent asset. Likewise, if there's a liability, for instance, there's going to be a tax liability, or you're going to have to pay your attorney's fees, or if there are CPA fees that are due and owing in the future, you would list that as a contingent liability. Again, keep this in mind that it is under oath and is something that they can use against you, whether it's in court or during the deposition.